It's the boy, Bubba, Lutz, coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great.
Well, hello, Bubba Bunch, and welcome to a new series that we're doing on the channel, and a new thing that I wanted to do. Nothing really special, nothing very, I guess, creative, if you really think about it, but I feel like this is a very easy way to put myself out there and my takes, my opinions, without going into the whole 1 hour podcast, an hour and a half podcast that we occasionally do on this channel. I would want to do something more consumable for you guys, but we still hit on the top topics in sports, the heated topics in sports, something that's taking the headlines any given day of the week, and we're just gonna have some fun with it. You know, I'm gonna post these on TikTok, on Twitter, and hopefully, you know, build a conversation around these topics as they've been taking over the sports world for at least the last couple days, maybe the last few weeks, whatever the case may be. We're gonna dive into so many different things, but we don't have to commit into, or at least you guys don't have to commit into an hour-long podcast. You know, this is an easy 10-15 minute video that you can listen to, that you can watch. But still, you know, you get the content that you guys rightfully deserve and that I want to be making in the near future. So first off, thank you for coming by. I don't know if I'm going to have a specific name for this. Let's just rough draft it and say this is Small Talk with Bubba Lutz. You know, this is not episode 275 or whatever of the podcast. You know, this is its own separate thing. We'll probably do some podcasts with Kevin in the future, maybe ones by myself, maybe make a longer version of this. I don't know yet. I'm kind of just going with the flow, see what I like to do, because I feel like I've been hot and cold lately when it comes to this podcast, and I'm not very happy with that. So hopefully this can build the momentum and slowly get me back into the swing of things. So without further ado, let's get into our first topic today. And I think all of us want to talk about Deshaun Watson and that whole ordeal with the 6-game suspension. And was that enough? Was that too small, too big, whatever? But I think I want to save that because I do want to talk about this other topic first. And it still deals with a quarterback in the NFL. And I definitely feel like this has become something that it shouldn't be. So I want to get my take on this, and hopefully you guys respect that, agree to disagree when it comes to this, but maybe you guys will agree with this. But first, I want to talk about Kyler Murray and this whole situation about his independent study that was a part of his new contract extension with the Arizona Cardinals, and further the deletion, or is that even, I don't even know if the extraction of that clause in his contract of he needs to take time during the season, during this contract, to study more film, games, the playbook, basically do more homework, in very simple terms. And when that came out, the whole NFL world just flipped upside down. And it was hilarious to see all the memes, to see just the idea of a professional organization who has dealt with this player for 4 to 5 years now and has had some success, you could say regular season success, as I swat a gnat in front of me. Regular season success, but not playoff success, especially after last season, where it just felt very underwhelming for a team that was so red hot, that felt like the best team in all the NFL through maybe the first 12 to 13 weeks of the NFL season, and to fall apart because Kyler was getting hurt and his leadership was lackluster. Cliff Kingsbury continues his trend of being a really good starting head coach in a season and then just dips down after a certain point. It started in college at Texas Tech. It continues with Arizona, and it feels like the seat's getting very warm with Cliff in that situation. But for me, briefly, I want to talk about the extension itself. He is now the second highest paid NFL quarterback in NFL history. He is the second highest quarterback being paid right now in this very moment, and only behind one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. But the whole idea of signing Kyler to this expensive contract, considering that we haven't had a playoff win, we haven't had an MVP season, we've had shining moments, we've had highlight seasons or highlight moments in a season. But Kyler Murray, for me, we can talk about how he's not worth that certain amount of money. We can go down the next 10 quarterbacks, really, and look at their contracts and say, are they really worth that money? Was Ryan Tannehill worth the $35 million that he got? Maybe a little bit more. No. Is Dak worth the $40 million that he's getting? Probably not. Is Lamar Jackson going to be worth the contract that he will get eventually, maybe very soon, and we're talking $50 million a year? I don't know, and I don't think that it's heading the right direction for that either. When it comes to Kyler Murray, we have to look at a market in the NFL where the salary cap is going to increase in the next few years. These TV deals are getting outrageously huge, and so the money doesn't really matter at this very point. What Kyler is getting right now is going to be small compared to what a quarterback is going to get in 5 years. When a great quarterback from college, let's say the next Patrick Mahomes, comes into the NFL in 5 years, and he is blowing up, he is literally destroying everybody on the field. I mean, he is doing Patrick Mahomes level things, Josh Allen things, Lamar Jackson things, or we get the next Aaron Rodgers, who is back-to-back MVPs. He's a pure passer. He's just the perfect embodiment of a quarterback. If we get a guy like that in 5 years, don't you think that 50 mil is going to be a low point? That's going to be a bargain for an NFL quarterback, considering how much money that they bring in? You know, considering that money runs the NFL, explains the Deshaun Watson situation. We'll get into it in another episode. But like with Kyler Murray, it doesn't matter what that contract has as a dollar sign. It's a matter of the long-term deal that you have with him. The fact that you want to take another 4 or 5 years of Kyler Murray, is that worth it? Considering that we haven't had the success of a deep playoff run, considering that you have D-Hop, that you've at some point you had a great running game with a plethora of guys. You have many receivers, and you have actually a pretty solid defense with considering a lot of young talent. And last season, for a good stretch of the season, it felt like Arizona was unstoppable. And a part of that was Kyler Murray. I will admit that. However, you do have to deal with his size. You do have to deal with the fact that he may be injury prone because of his lack of size. However, that's not the most important thing here. The most important thing is how he dealt with that playoff game against the Rams, the third time you see them that season. You come in as the better team record-wise and momentum-wise. You feel like you're the better team, and you got absolutely outclassed. And how did Kyler react to that? A man who has not only won most of his entire life. In high school, he won state championships. He broke every record possible in the state of Texas. In Oklahoma, he was the guy. He was the stud. He was the big man on campus despite his size. He played in a Big Five conference. He was one of the best teams in the country, and they made the playoff, or they made bowl games and they won playoffs or bowl games. The point is that once you got into the NFL, you started to see that success would slow down a little bit. But how much would it slow down? How far would Kyler get this team with his explosiveness, his agility, all of his athletic talent? It took a few years, obviously, because Arizona was not the team that they are right now, with the insane amount of talent, the growth that they've done as an organization with their players, their roster. The coaching did get better compared to what it was 5 years ago. Things are better in Arizona, hands down, than it was 5 years ago. And Kyler did improve that immensely, right? But how far can he get them? Last year, it solidified that Kyler Murray is an extremely talented quarterback, and he falls into the same category that a lot of these younger guys do. He's a Deshaun Watson. He's a Lamar Jackson. Maybe Josh Allen. You can throw him in that argument as well. Guys that are just uberly, extremely talented, have all the raw ability at their position, but if their team doesn't get built around them, they get limited. Now, let's go a step further, because now I feel like it's more of a case of a Lamar Jackson and a Kyler Murray. Of, yes, raw talent, athleticism, agility, all that is there. It's all that you would want in a quarterback nowadays. But mentally, leadership-wise, how far could they push themselves? That's where we start to struggle with these guys that are so talented that it may be to their detriment, because they have all the talent in the world that maybe they forget about that mental part of the game, that they're just so agile. They can just run. When a play breaks down, they don't look to extend the play in the normal way that a quarterback would, like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers. They will use their feet and make that decision very, very quickly. You know, Tom Brady is not going to use his feet. He'll make that his worst case scenario, last resort. But what he looks at is his reads. He looks at his weapons. He'll look to go downfield. It'll be more of making a play for someone else rather than himself. I think the complete opposite about Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. They will make plays for themselves. They will say, I'm taking over. I'm going to do this myself, right? Kyler, to me, in that Rams game, proved that he is more selfish than you would like when it comes to being a quarterback. And he was not ready for the big time when times were tough. You've seen it for multiple seasons now, is that when times get tough for him, it is a detriment to the rest of the team. Lamar Jackson gets very, very frustrated when a defense really makes him uncomfortable, as do many quarterbacks in this league, right? But for Lamar Jackson, when he isn't able to run all over the place and he's kind of forced to throw downfield and make difficult throws, much like Kyler Murray, you start to see him be frustrated because things don't go his way. He is very uncomfortable with the situation because he's not in his box anymore. He's got to go outside the box. And they're just not used to that because they're very comforted and they're very cuddled with how successful they are at one thing. So Kyler, when it doesn't go his way, may be a liability to the Arizona Cardinals. Does the move, this is where we get into it, does the move of doing an independent study and saying, hey, we need you to focus more on the playbook, focus more on doing film, learn defenses because they are getting more difficult. Even Patrick Mahomes is having difficulty with some of these defenses. And you saw it last year with the interceptions. Kyler, we would like for you to do a little bit more when it comes to film and game planning and knowing the playbook. You know, we love your talent. That's why we drafted you. But I think we got to change up and shape up the offense in a different way this year to where we don't get figured out late in the year. That is an easy way to have a gentleman's agreement, a gentleman's handshake, and say, Kyler, this is what we want from you this season. Cliff, Kyler, sit down. We're going to have a chat. This is the year. This is a year to where we have our backs against the wall. The seats are getting hotter. And this is where I felt like it was a mistake to sign him to an extension. I felt like this had to be the year to where Kyler's like, either you show up or show out. You know, like it's either you get us deep into the playoffs and we'll definitely talk an extension and we'll probably talk about more money at that point rather than just giving him the money now and saying, well, your coach is on the hot seat and we need you to play better. We need you to be more of a leader. You don't do that after giving him the money. You do that before. All this pettiness about like the Instagram pictures being taken off of Kyler's account and saying that there's difficulties with negotiations, that to me should signify that this is a bit of an immature guy. That this isn't the leader that I need. Okay? Like, to have a generational talent like Kyler Murray as far as his physical abilities, you're not going to find that. Like, you're not going to find that often, right? So it's hard just to be like, you know what, leave. You know, we'll trade you. We'll cut you after this year. Whatever. We just don't want you to be the starting quarterback here. And we'll figure it out, right? It's easy to say that. But when you have a free agent market of Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson, who's being sued by 27 different women, it's hard to just say goodbye to Kyler Murray. But this is where the Arizona Cardinals put themselves in an even worse situation, to where they said, not only will we give you the money, we will make sure to do it our way and not your way. We signed you to a long-term deal because we like what you do, but we also want you to do things differently after we give you the money. That's not the right approach. And if you just want to say verbally, hey, Kyler, these are the things that we want to do after signing this contract, you should have done it before, right? You should have just gone down like, we don't feel like you do enough when it comes to film and game planning and knowing the playbook. We just feel like we need more out of you for that. Hey, let's give you $45 million. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And to not only do that, to say those things when in all reality, if your quarterback is not doing that stuff already, you don't have yourself the franchise guy. You shouldn't have to ask your quarterback to do the things that every other quarterback that has won in this league has done in the past. You don't get Tom Brady being asked, hey, buddy, you know, I know you've been game planning against Miami for this whole week, but I need you to do more. I need you to take more time out of your day to do some homework. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, I know you're the best quarterback in the league. However, I need you to not play Fortnite and do some homework tonight. You're not getting that. And it's hard because this generation of quarterbacks is going to have that, right? They're just so influential when it comes to social media, the culture, fashion, gaming. Kyler Murray is a perfect example of that because he is in FaZe Clan. He is a part of this gaming crew, and he's doing content with them. He does a lot for himself. He's fashionable. He's recognizable. He's just a nationwide type of face. So it's hard for him to just stay out of it, right? You know, he's trying to get his money. He's trying to get deals. He's trying to do all these different things. And that's just what you're going to get nowadays when it comes to quarterbacks and household names, right? You shouldn't have to ask your quarterback to do their job. You shouldn't have to ask your quarterback to game plan and to study. They should already do that. If you want to give this guy 4 to 5 years extra, $45 million a year, you don't need to ask for those things. Those should already be included to what you get in the guy. Was it wrong for the Arizona Cardinals to want that? No. They shouldn't put it in their clause, though, in a contract. They shouldn't have to ask Kyler Murray for that. And the backlash leads them to get rid of it in the contract, which if you're going to commit. You know, you said, I want more out of my quarterback. And if a bunch of trolls on Twitter who are making memes, who are making all these different GIFs, and Kyler saying I felt disrespected by it, okay, that's fine. This is my team. This is how I want to run things. And personally, when I heard the news, I didn't disagree with it. I felt like the idea of seeing it in a contract is very humorous, but to ask for Kyler Murray to do more, why should you be shocked? He should do more. That was embarrassing what happened in the playoff game against the Rams. He literally sat on the bench with time left in the game and gave up. He didn't care about his teammates. He didn't try to pump them up and cheer them up and just try to figure things out. He sat on the bench and cried. That's what happened. That should not be the case when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, when you think that you're the franchise guy of an organization. So with that being said, the last thing I want to talk about, as you know, I'm going a little bit long here. The last thing I want to talk about is Patrick Mahomes' comments on this certain issue. Him, paraphrasing, of course, saying that it's crazy how black quarterbacks in the NFL still have to prove themselves. They always have to prove themselves. And I believe it was Warren Moon who came out and said that this was very disrespectful to African-American quarterbacks. The whole idea of Kyler Murray. Listen, do I think that the color of your skin and the fact that majority of owners, front office people, organization, NFL, front office people are majority white males, and that makes it hard for black athletes like Kyler Murray, like Lamar Jackson, like Patrick Mahomes to really find themselves comfortable in the situation. And we're looking at coaches like Mike Tomlin, like Brian Flores, that are struggling to find themselves in a good spot in the NFL, in this entire league, because of the issues racially that we've dealt with in this country, in this world, and in the history of mankind. It's hard to not say that there are underlying issues when it comes to this color of a man's skin. That's never going to go away. Colin Kaepernick's thing is never going to go away. And the fact that he's not signed, at least as a backup quarterback, while guys like Nathan Peterman are getting a shot, guys like Deshaun Watson, who are getting sued for allegedly sexually assaulting many, many women, and still gets a shot, despite a man who is trying to work his ass off to get back in this league, but because he knelt during a national anthem. Look, that's a whole nother issue, right? But the color of a man's skin is an issue, and not only in the NFL, but in sports in general and just in culture, right? I know we have to bring that up. I know that's a very important issue because of the fact that, like, leadership, it has been a common issue for a lot of scouts, for a lot of front office people when it comes to a black quarterback. They just don't see them, and I say them as African-American quarterbacks, that it's a weakness. We are dominated by male or white male quarterbacks that are very good leaders. They are praised for their mental game rather than their physical abilities. And so, of course, this is going to be brought up, is that we're going to disrespect a black quarterback because of his leadership skills, for his lack of mental, toughness, and his inability to be the locker room guy. I call nonsense when it comes to this certain issue. Is that an issue in itself? Absolutely. But does this mean that the reason why the Arizona Cardinals are looking to have more independent study time for Kyler Murray in his contract because he is a black quarterback, that is outrageous. It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. It's not a Mexican thing. It's not a race thing at all. This is a man who has really never had to deal with game planning, film work, study time of the playbook. He's never had to deal with that as a weakness because he's just so damn talented. I am trying to praise Kyler Murray here because he's that damn good as a runner, as a passer, as an overall dual threat quarterback. He is a damn good quarterback. But I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say that Dak Prescott, who is naturally a great leader and has been a great leader for his team for the past 5 years, did disappoint me at how he was a leader and a franchise guy last year. I didn't feel like he was that guy last year. So I'm going to call out a guy when he's not being a great leader, no matter who you are. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Like, let's not even go into those names. Let's talk about Carson Wentz, right? Carson Wentz physically has the talent to be a good quarterback. We saw it in that almost MVP year with the Philadelphia Eagles when they went on that run for the Super Bowl. He got injured, and that's what really derailed his career. But truly, who wants to get behind this guy and say, that's my guy? That's not because he's white. It's not because he's black. It has nothing to do with how he looks and his complexion. It's the fact that the way that he plays, the way that he carries himself as a quarterback is just unlike a leadership guy. The way that Kyler Murray carries himself, at least from my perspective of watching these games and how he reacts to certain situations to where he doesn't get what he wants or it doesn't go his way. That's a better way of looking at it. When the going gets tough, how do they react? You know, when we see tough times for Tom Brady, he comes back and wins 7 Super Bowls. When the going gets tough, I know this is not a great example, but Aaron Rodgers, when the going gets tough and he gets ridiculed for everything that he does, the pettiness, the stubbornness, the attitude, whatever, he goes back-to-back in MVPs and plays some of the greatest football at a quarterback position that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Does that lead to Super Bowls? No. But does that get them to the NFC Championship like almost every year? Yeah. Unlike Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has not proven you anything. Has he done enough to avoid doing more at his position? No. Is that a black thing? No. It's not a white thing either. I'm looking at the man. I'm not looking at his skin color. I'm looking at this man, and I'm looking at Kyler Murray, and I'm saying he's just naturally not a great leader. I don't think that about Jalen Hurts either. I don't think that about Lamar Jackson. Do they have something in common? Yeah, they're all black quarterbacks. Does that mean it's because they're black? No. Patrick Mahomes should not be talking about that. Patrick Mahomes should not be saying, oh, well, it's disrespectful because we have to prove ourselves as black quarterbacks. Who said that you had to prove anything? I will say I'm not high on Patrick Mahomes. I will say that Patrick Mahomes, for me, is, far from what he could be. What he could be is the greatest quarterback of all time. Is he there yet? No. I don't think he has a resume to say that he is the best. He's heading that way, and I do think that he will get there one day. I just don't think it's right now. And I think that's fair. But you're also looking at a guy who won an MVP, who's won a Super Bowl, who is taking a Chiefs team to a whole nother level. Like Alex Smith was good. Patrick Mahomes has brought them way above that, right? That's a generational talent, but he has everything, Not only does he have that physical ability, he is a natural born leader as well. And instantly you could tell that he has fun with this offense. He's buddy, the brotherhood, all of that just really came together pretty easily for Patrick Mahomes. And no one's looking at him and saying, oh man, when the going gets tough, he falls. When the going gets tough, Patrick Mahomes at like 23 years old was going head to head against the New England Patriots, was going head to head against the Tampa Bay Bucks, was going head to head constantly with all of these big shots in the AFC. He's doing that constantly, and most of the time he wins. I don't think that you should be in the conversation of having to prove yourself as a black quarterback. You made it. You're already there. Most people would say that you're the best quarterback in the league right now. What do you have to prove? What do you have to prove when you're already at the top? Lamar Jackson still has something to prove because he has a bad playoff record. He's not developed fully as a passer, and I think he will this year. But you still have something to prove. You still have a chip on your shoulder. If you ask Patrick Mahomes, he does have a chip on his shoulder. He still wants to win more Super Bowls. He wants to be the best quarterback that he can be, and he can definitely improve at reading defenses, and just being a smarter quarterback. All these different things. Yeah. No, we get that. And we appreciate that Patrick Mahomes is saying that out loud and saying like, yeah, no, I still have a lot of room to grow, but I'm trying to get better. And I'm not doubting that Patrick Mahomes is putting in the work, because we saw the progression. We saw the improvement from halfway through the season last year, and we saw a smarter, much more developed quarterback as far as keeping the ball in your hands and making sure that's not going to the other team. We saw the opposite when it comes to Kyler Murray. We didn't see a dip and an instant incline to say like, oh no, he improved because he did the work. We saw a straight decline. Patrick Mahomes is putting the work in, and we saw it on the field. He didn't win the Super Bowl, but at least you win a few playoff games. You play back to that, insane level, elite level of quarterback play. Well, we're not seeing that with Kyler Murray. So we can't just say that you're in the same boat when you have a little boat, a little yachty, and Kyler Murray, not because he's little, but, I'm saying just metaphorically, and you got a big yacht when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. It's not the same thing. It's not a color thing. If you want to make it that, then I could see where you're coming from, because yes, there is an underlying issue when it comes to color in not just sports, but just in general. But for right now, this conversation about Kyler Murray, the independent study clause, this whole idea that he doesn't do enough as far as his mental leadership and mental play, that's the issue here. I don't think that has anything to do with his color, with, his background. I think this is a man who is used to winning a lot, used to winning by just his plays by himself and not based on what the playbook says. And when that playbook goes out the window and things start to go bad for Kyler Murray, things fall apart. That's where Arizona has the benefit of the doubt here. They have a reason to say these things and to put these things in a contract. You shouldn't put them on the contract, but I could see where you're coming from. I can see where Kyler's coming from, where he feels disrespected, because that is embarrassing for your organization to not only put that on paper, but also make it public to the media. That's embarrassing, because not only did you give this man all the money in the world, but you said, actually, if you're going to get paid that much, we need you to do more. You should already do more. You shouldn't be asked to do it, but you shouldn't also ask your quarterback to do it. So Kyler, here's the thing. You put your head down, you focus on football, you try to do as much film work as possible, not for the Cardinals, not for the media, not for the fans. You do it for yourself. You do it to prove that you are one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. That you not only have a higher ceiling than most people assume, but that the ceiling is non-existent right now. And if you improve the leadership, you sit down with your guys and you're like, guys, if I've done something wrong, let me know now, because I will be better. I will play better. But not only that, I will be a better person. As much ridicule as Russell Wilson gets in this league, as far as, how like nerdy he sounds or how like cliche he sounds, that's a damn good quarterback. And he's won a damn Super Bowl. Kyler Murray can't say that right now. Lamar Jackson can't say that right now. And a lot of other quarterbacks around this league can't say that right now. So how can you judge a man who's been at the top and ridicule him for how he acts when it's worked? When a team filled with just a bunch of, personalities and different, scenarios, backgrounds, whatever, in Seattle, and he made it work. He did the best that he could. And we can talk about Russell Wilson's play all day long, but one of the best things about Russell Wilson is his leadership and his ability to play a mental game and to be the best quarterback he can be up here, in his head. That's where Kyler needs to improve on. It's embarrassing, and I get it. Like, you feel disrespected. Arizona, that was a horrible thing to do. I understand your side of it as well, but hey, let's focus on this, right? This is not about anything else rather than Kyler Murray needs to improve as a leader. He needs to improve in his mental game, film work, independent study, whatever you want to call it, homework, whatever. You do more. When you think you've done enough, you do more. That's just how it is, right? no matter what you do in life. It doesn't matter if you're a quarterback in the NFL or you do a podcast that like 3 people listen to. It doesn't matter. You do the work and you improve. Who cares? In my opinion, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but that's just how I feel about it. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening to Small Talk with Bubba Lutz, the first edition of it. Let's see if we keep calling it that, but whatever. We'll come back. I'm not going to put a set in stone amount of times we're going to do this a week, but whenever I feel like it, I'm going to turn on this computer. I'm going to start recording, and I'm just going to talk. So thank you guys. We'll see you next time. I was going to say the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast, so we'll see you next time.